Welcome to the Boss Ladies Breakroom, the financial literacy series, brought to you by Boss Lady Miss Camay, who will educate, inspire, and empower you to take action in building generational wealth and protecting your assets with trust documents. Welcome to the Boss Ladies Breakroom, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Boss Lady Miss Camay, and I have a phenomenal interview coming up today with a phenomenal boss lady. I know I tell you guys that every episode, but today is very, very special and just so phenomenal to me because this boss lady, Janet Wise, I actually am a client of hers from a few years ago. And I have a personal testimony about working with Janet and my career and making myself visible. And so I can't wait to share those details with you guys. I can't wait to introduce this phenomenal boss lady to you. She is definitely somebody that you want to listen to. She's going to coming up right after the break. But before the break, you guys know I always have a call out. I am here to educate, inspire, and empower you to take action. You guys know I'm a document preparer. I'm a legal professional. I've worked in law for over 20 years. So I'm always dropping gems and tips about real world experiences and situations to help you guys in your situation. So today I want to talk about breach of contract. And I have some notes here. I want to refer to them. I want to go through them pretty quickly because I feel that us as entrepreneurs, as small business entrepreneurs, sometimes we can enter into contracts or agreements with other business professionals, small business entrepreneurs, essentially, and sometimes things go left, right? And so I want to help anybody who's experienced this know what you can do, know what your rights are under the law, and how you can address a breach of contract. So let's get into it, you guys. So I've been in a deep saga with a photographer, and I've been trying to deal with this situation professionally, but unfortunately, we are going to have to go to small claims court to resolve this matter. And sometimes that is the end game, right? We want to avoid those things at all costs, especially as small business entrepreneurs. Because litigation can be costly. Small claims litigation, not so much, but nonetheless, litigation does cost money. There are filing fees. Sometimes you need to consult with an attorney, right? And so those things cost money. So the first thing that I want to say is that if you share your personal experience regarding business that you've entered with somebody, you want to make sure that you keep it professional, right? And you also want to make sure that you don't get into any trouble yourself by making any defamatory statements about this business, right? And so there are thresholds under the law that would explain what defamation is, right? So you want to make sure that you remain professional. If you share your experience on social media, you don't want to mention anybody's name or any business names because you don't want to get in trouble under the law yourself, right? So I want to share this story because these lessons are golden. And I feel that our audience here in the Boss Ladies Breakroom learns the best by sharing real world testimonies. So this is about knowing your rights, protecting your bag, and making sure you get what you pay for. So let's just talk about it real quick. What's a contract? Sometimes people think that you have to have a contract or the terms written down in paper, right? That's not the case. A contract is simply somebody makes you an offer. Someone says, I'll do this for you. The acceptance of the agreement is yes, you agree. And then consideration, money, services, and or trade, right? So even though you aren't necessarily paying somebody for services with cash, if there's a trade or an exchange for services, that still it's considered payment, right? So here's the situation. Here's the kicker. Contracts don't always have to be in writing. They can be verbal too. Nevada courts, I'll speak specifically to Nevada because I'm here in Nevada. If you prove that it happened and you can show what each side agreed to, a verbal agreement essentially constitutes a contract. Breach of contract. So what does that mean? A breach happens when someone doesn't deliver what they promised. Okay, period. It's that simple. Material breach, there are two kinds of breaches. Material breach is core promises were broken, like you never got what you paid for. A minor breach is smaller stuff that can be fixed essentially without going to court. But if you paid for something and you didn't receive it, you are entitled to remedy under the law. So verbal contracts are real. Let me just talk about that a little bit. So under Nevada revised statute, verbal agreements for services are enforceable if you can show the agreement and the consideration. How do you prove it? Emails, text messages, receipts, invoices, even witness testimony, right? Boss moves require documentation. So in my particular situation, my agreement that I had with this photographer was verbal, but I had a witness, an eyewitness that was there, physically there when the verbal agreement was made. So that is one way that you can prove a verbal agreement, right? So remedies and protecting yourself. So what do you do if someone breaches a contract with you? You've got to ask for specific performance. You have to, write a formal demand letter essentially, and ask them to deliver what was promised. And you want to ask for damages. So in this situation, in my personal situation, the photography images that were promised were used for business marketing. And because the images were not delivered, the business marketing did not take place. So now we're not only addressing the issue about the product was not delivered, but now it has damaged my business and it has caused my business damages. So you want to make sure you know the difference between the two, right? So again, small claims. Small claims court is designated by the amount of damages that you claim. So in Nevada, small claims actions will be heard in small claims court if the damages are under $15,000. Anything over $15,000, the claim would have to be filed in district court, which essentially is kind of a higher court. Okay. So in closing on this topic, because we can spend a lot of time on this topic, and that is not what today's interview is about. But what are some boss lady takeaways about this? Okay, here's the real tea, you guys. Even verbal contracts are binding. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise or try to convince you otherwise. If somebody agrees to provide products or services for a payment or exchange of trade, that's an agreement, and it's legally binding under the law. Protect your rights by documenting everything: emails, receipts, contracts, screenshots, text messages. We have so many different ways that we're communicating and we're handling business on so many different platforms, on social media, through email, through telephone calls. So you want to make sure that you get everything in writing. Stay factual, right? Like courts don't like all the drama and the dramatics. We save all that for the break room, but not in court. So stay factual, stay calm. And know your legal options. Facts plus evidence equals boss lady moves. And remember, sometimes people think that a verbal contract means they can flake on you and you're going to forget about the issue. So I want to make sure you guys are educated and that you're informed on breach of contract topics. So enough about that. Let's get into the real great, good stuff today, this phenomenal interview that we have. I'm going to take a short break. And when I come back, I'm going to introduce to you the phenomenal Janet Weiss. We're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Did you know that 46% of mobile shoppers are likely to buy a product or service from a verbal ad when it's relevant to the content that they're viewing? It's responsible for capturing attention, creating interest, and persuading your target audience.
It's about every woman having their unique experience. When you're on that vibroacoustic sound equipment, women go into their own world.
Let the Boss Ladies Breakroom put your company in the spotlight. Visit my website at misscamayinternational.com, click the contact tab, and fill out the form listing sponsor ad spot in the subject line. And let us create a sponsor ad for you, your company, or service or product that you sell, which will be featured in our series. Partner with us for a greater reach to those who need you. Welcome back to the break room, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. I want to welcome this phenomenal boss lady to the break room. Welcome to the Boss Ladies Breakroom, Janet Wise. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here in the break room with you, Miss Camay.
Well, let me not disappoint. I want to tell people a little bit about you, who you are, and then I'm going to hand the mic over to you, sparkle and shimmer and all, and let you talk to us about your brand, some exciting things that you have coming up in the near future, and give our audience a little bit of history about our working relationship that has been so invaluable to me and my career. So you guys are probably wondering, who is this phenomenal lady that's joining me in the break room? I always usually know my guests, in some form or fashion, and Janet is no different. Janet is the creator of the Branding Room and Career Visibility Studio. She works with ambitious professionals, coaches, and solopreneurs to build career visibility so they're seen by the right people in the right rooms at the right time. Her clients walk away with clarity, positioning, presence, and visibility that support not just their next move, but their credibility and long-term reputation. And you guys, I can tell you from my personal experience, that is exactly what working with Janet gave to me. I met Janet at a Wave, a law firm here in Las Vegas puts on this annual Wave event, and Janet was there as a guest speaker. And as soon as she got up and spoke, I knew I had to meet her. I'm like, who is that lady? I need to talk to her. How can she help me? Is she a lawyer? I hope she's not. I want to talk to her. And so, we met. It was delightful. And I connected with Janet after the event, and she actually helped me combine my retail experience, my retail management experience, my district trainer experience, and all of the real experience that comes with being a manager in a retail store. And helped me bridge the gap between this, professional retail experience that involved so many things like managing people, training people, supervising people, HR, counseling people, hiring, firing, counseling staff, all those things that I worked in retail management, but they kind of weren't really transferring over into, my legal career, right? And so Janet, with her amazing strategy and ideas, helped me rewrite my resume. She helped me get in front of a hiring manager for a law firm here in Las Vegas that was hiring for a firm administration position. And she helped me get the visibility that I was not able to get prior to working with Janet. And again, we apply for positions or we apply for jobs, right, Janet? And we send people our resume. So it's this piece of paper that people are essentially reading. And how do we stand out? How do I get their attention, right? Oftentimes employers have, software that they run resumes through looking for keywords. And if, the algorithm, or I guess it's AI now, right? If AI doesn't find, these keywords in the resume, they kind of move on. And so what Janet gave to me, the information, just the strategy conversation that I had with her, really helped me, combine my experience, which has actually helped me professionally in my legal career. So that is who Janet Weiss is. Again, phenomenal. But now I want to hear from Janet. Janet, I want you to talk to our audience about what is the Branding Room and Career Visibility Studio? What is that?
Yes. All right. And before we dive in, okay, so
Yes.
I want to thank you. But before we dive in, I want to take a moment to acknowledge you. You and I, as you said, we met several years ago. I'm sure it was pre-COVID. You
Yes.
heard me speak, as you say, and I always remembered that connection. And I was thrilled when you reached out to me following that conference, and because since then, right? Here's what we know: you stepped, you stepped into the branding room and then out into more of your, I'm just going to say, boss lady persona, right? And I've had the privilege of watching your evolution firsthand. And you've been such a generous supporter of mine. And again, even today, and I've been equally honored, right? Equally honored to support you. And I'm fortunate to work with brilliant people. And after 2 decades as a former HR executive, a human capital executive, leading global talent, learning, leadership, all of that, whether it was inside law firms or lots of professional services, one thing I know for sure is I know talent, and you have it in spades. Uh,
Oh,
yeah,
well, thank
so
you.
this is true. This is very
Thank
true.
you. Well, I want to shout out Karen Basher. She is the
Yes.
attorney at Wilson Elser, who puts that wave event on every single year. I think she spearheads the event.
Yes.
And I had connected with her, and she invited me to that event. And my career has not been the same since I met you and worked with you. It has just skyrocketed, to high levels. So thank you so much for edifying me and sharing your experience of me, because Janet, some people don't have that same experience of me now. But Camay the paralegal shows up and they're like, whoa.
Yes, but no doubt it's all of your core truths, your boldness, your directness, your brilliance. When I say brilliance, I don't even mean just the external exuberance of it, but the ability to have the credibility to know and be a subject matter expert in whatever it is anybody is doing. And you asked me, okay, to talk about the branding room and the career visibility studio. The
Yes.
piece on the branding room, right? You mentioned, you sort of entered into that. You met me inside the branding room because you presented with a resume. You were in a career transition. You wanted
Correct.
to pivot, to change. And that piece is really all about the positioning, right? It's the
Yes.
position. It's being able to understand, as you started to say, but in my language, what are the transferable skills? Right? What are the transferable skills? And how do we position that so that whoever the audience is going to be, in this case, was a potential employer, is going to see you as a candidate in that choice? We could switch out those words and feed it in again, because it depends on audience, depends on what your objective is. But the piece is the branding room still holds, absolutely, because that's the foundation, because we need to understand what is your unique value proposition. And that is one thing that AI still can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because it's hard for us to do it ourselves. Now, I do think that I'm exceptionally talented at it. I like to say I do it in a New York minute. There's not a whole lot of, and
Yes.
it's not a whole lot of navel gazing going on, right?
Right.
I'm listening intently, right? But I'm pulling out, I used to say red threads, but I'm going to say fuchsia threads, because I'm seeing that beautiful jacket you're sporting today. But that really is to create your value proposition. And the visibility studio is that next piece, right? So I think of everything that I'm doing in terms of excavating, right? Excavating, and then we communicate, and then we illuminate. And the visibility piece is more in the illumination piece, but it's still, you need to understand your value, value. And that's the piece. Yes, it is when we define career visibility as I define it, and as I define it in my upcoming book, is the strategic ability to be seen, heard, and remembered, as you said, by the right people in the right rooms at the right time. And the piece is for the value you bring. not just the work
Yes.
you're doing, it's the value. So even as you were talking about breach of contracts, there's value, there's an exchange there. So I'll come up for air at the moment. But
No,
yes.
no, no. Keep the mic is yours. The mic is yours. I love it. I love it. I think, when you talk about visibility, right? And just to be transparent, that potential job that I essentially, was putting myself in front of, I did not get the job. I did not get that, but what it did was it got me the visibility for the role. And that was what I was really challenged with is, I had so much experience in my, retail management career. I mean, I was a manager for Victoria's Secret, managed, a multi-million dollar inventory, hired, trained hundreds of people, counseled, hundreds of people essentially. Um, and kind of transitioning into legal, and wanting to, essentially manage a law firm, on paper, I didn't have that experience. I didn't have firm administration. I didn't have HR experience. And so, although I had it over here as the manager in retail, I had I was struggling with, highlighting that or showing that visibility that, okay, Miss Camay hasn't managed a firm before, but she's been a paralegal. But then she also has this retail management experience that included, these HR things and training and coaching and hiring and firing and budget and money, essentially. I was able to, with your help, through consulting with you, I was able to get that down on paper so that I could receive that visibility. And it continues to work even today, even, though I didn't get that job, it still continues to work for me today. And it's so important, the visibility and the value that we bring, because, it's easy for me to walk into any law firm and say, okay, I'm a paralegal and I can work in litigation and I can push out pleadings and I can write letters and I can do research and I can do this just like every other paralegal that is going to apply for that job. But what is going to set me apart, from the others? So when you work with clients,
Yes.
and you look, you're talking career visibility,
Right.
what are some key things that you look for in your clients that you work with?
Right. So I'm listening with them, right? It's almost a setup like this, and I think you can attest to it, right? Oftentimes it's on Zoom. Less likely now it's in person. But the piece is it's very conversational, but I'm very intentional with what I'm listening for. And look, I've been doing this a very long time,
Mhm.
and my perspective, see all these perspectives, just like yours, right? Comprising what you can do. It's not just what you can do as a paralegal. It's
Mhm.
the other layers of it. It's sort of this tapestry of what individuals can bring to a role, right? To a
Mhm.
role. And through the questioning, because I understand when I say those perspectives, I've sat on all sides of the table. So
Mhm.
obviously, I've been a candidate, right? Of
Yep.
looking to get hired. I've been a hiring manager. I've sat inside organizations I always say, at the talent table, right? So with the executive teams, when here's their business objective, here's our pool of talent. How are we
Mhm.
going to identify and ready those folks to deliver on the business objectives? And therein is the key. The objectives, really being able to understand what's the end objective. Oftentimes, candidates will go in and talk in terms of what they hope to get out of a particular role. This is
Yeah.
more, again, you've got to focus on the outcome. And what I'm listening for is where can we create, all right, a story. I always say, I'm not creating my client's brand, but I'm helping them reveal it, right?
Yeah.
um, and be able then to tell that story. So facts matter. Quantifying, that evidence, but that demonstrates, again, going back to this particular example, that you're a candidate of choice, and that candidate of choice again, can switch that out, that you're the right consultant for this project, that you're the right team player for, for this stretch assignment, whatever that piece is. So there's a lot of listening to it, right? And there's a bit of a framework that I have with it, but in essence, it sounds very conversational, but I'm really being very strategic about what I'm listening for. And then I almost create a hypothesis. I can almost see it quite quickly.
Yeah.
Not because it's easy to do, but after you've mastered something,
Right.
it becomes easy to for me to begin to see it, and then I present that back to the client, like, or you. Here's what I'm hearing, and I always say it's got to feel right. Like you're going into a dressing room at Bloomingdale's, and you've got three black cocktail dresses. They all look dynamite, but one feels right. I want it to feel right. And that piece then, that also it's empowering, it's enlightening,
Yes.
it's almost relieving, a relief, because somebody gets me, right? Gets me at my core. I think I shared with you, I don't know if you remember, but in an earlier career, and I don't like to say reinvention, I say a reintroduction, because we're not throwing ourselves out and reinventing. We want to bring all of these experiences in because there's value in that, right?
Yes.
There's so much value in that.
Yes.
And that, right? And that piece, though, I used to be a paralegal, and I always say that allows me to also think in patterns. I'm looking at precedents. I'm looking at patterns. It's just how I'm hardwired to think, and part of that was likely training, in that.
Yes.
It's been a gazillion years since I've done that. I really found my calling when I reintroduced myself as somebody who wanted to be in learning and leadership development, and then climbing up. And I tell this story, and I tell it in my book. I was a late bloomer. I really did not find that particular calling till I was about 40. And at that time, I was a single mom. I had 2 kids. I was living in Philadelphia. I was coming back to New York, which was my hometown. I was working for a New York-based firm, so I was able to transfer. And then I knew I wanted to, and I finished school as an adult, and I was not traditional anything.
Yeah, so did I. I went to college, as an adult.
As an adult, yes.
Yeah, as an adult.
That was a different perspective as well. But soon after, I was working, and it was for a major investment company on Wall Street. We were acquired by another major bank. And little by little, everybody was sort of getting picked and chosen. And there I was, a little bit of the quiet mouse, thinking, well, surely they've seen my good work, like somebody's going to pick me. And it was getting awfully lonely on the 40th floor at 60 Wall Street. The view was still great, but it was really getting it. And I had a female managing director who at one point came over to me and said, if they can't see you, if they're not going to get picked, you need to choose them and tell them why. And I knew at that moment, I no longer wanted to be invisible. I needed to be invincible. And then that's exactly where the rest of this whole career trajectory has taken me, and what I want to do for others, and what I have done for others.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I think that is what makes the work that you do so phenomenal, because you're a subject matter expert in your own expertise. You have done this yourself. This isn't something that you read in a book or watched on TV or that AI told you, right? This is Go ahead.
And you highlighted that even in your intro. I was listening. You use terms as, this is the real deal, right? I have this, speaking of yourself, have this experience. This is not just theory or fluff. Having that in the building, whether it's virtual or otherwise, having that experience is really important, and protecting that experience in that value is
Yes.
incredibly important.
Yes, yes, yes. So, with that being said, let's move into this amazing, amazing news you shared recently on your LinkedIn page that you have a book coming out. And I want to share the title, if I may,
Of
because
course.
I've been labeled the people's advocate. I'm very passionate about the people in my community, the constituents in my community, educating people about their rights under the law, how they can research the law to help them. And something that I always talk about is, being powerful, being courageous, being bold, using your voice, advocating for yourself. Don't sit and wait for them to come to you. You have to be relentless in your pursuit of life and relentless in your pursuit of what you're going after. Because so many people, especially women-owned small business entrepreneurs, right? Because that's who my target audience is. They lose their voice somewhere along the line. They lose their voice, and so you've got this book that you've got coming out. It's titled The Visibility Effect.
Yes.
Again, we're talking visibility. Okay. 50 truths, 50, 50. That's a lot. That's more than the 48 laws of power. 50 truths, 50 truths to accelerate your career, your voice, and your value. So talk to us about this book, Janet.
Right. This book was a lifetime in the making. Okay. I mean, and what I mean that is it brings in my own experiences, but it is not about me. And this is not a memoir. Okay. I am about action. All right. And your audience, right? Particularly if there's entrepreneurs or we have careerists in there, whatever the title is, it is all about getting it done, having the vision, right? Having the vision, but being able to push it through to the finish line.
Right.
And that piece is visibility is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Okay. Because career success, it isn't luck. It isn't a secret. I always say here is the secret. The secret is it's a strategy, and visibility is a really strong component in that. And just like I said about, what I was doing when I say early in career, although I was mid-career, at that point, it really was, how do you begin to communicate, show up, be heard, again, in the right rooms? And this is not about vanity. It's not about showing up for showing up sakes, right? It really is a strategic intention, okay, about how you want to be seen, heard, and remembered. And I always come back for the value. Again, you need to know what your value is. Right. Be able to articulate that, because without that, then it does look a little braggadocious, right? Oh, look at me. And, we're on LinkedIn, like, oh, look at me. I've got, awards. That's wonderful, right? But, we always want to tie it back. Remember when I say tie it back to objectives, tie it back to outcomes. Right. But I realize in all of the work that I have done, whether it was in career development, leadership development, all of my roles, and I still consult in learning and leadership today. But I do a lot of work and have with women in leadership. And I bring that up because we, as a collective gender, whether it's cultural, and that culture, believe me, if we just said the USA, there's all different levels of culture coming in. Correct, the North, the South, the West, the East. Are you white? Are you black? Are you brown? Right? All of that, when I say it has a cultural nuance to it. But there are stats. In fact, I'm going to take a look at one of those stats. I didn't going to bring it up, but I have. See?
Okay, perfect.
But the piece
we like stats. We like stats here in the break room.
Well, again, this is about, your facts, your stat. This is about credibility as well, right? Visibility is credibility. And what you're doing with this podcast, what I'm doing as a guest on your podcast, right, is this visibility, is we're adding value.
Yes.
We might say we're spilling the tea. We are. We're really giving you some really great insights. We'd all like a little cheat sheet that gets us from here to there quickly, but we do need to have that experience, but you need to know how can you leverage that. And
Right.
that's why this book was really so important. But the stat, women are promoted at lower rates, even with equal performance. Lack of visibility is a top reason high potential women leave organizations. 70% of roles and I would say, or business is filled through networks and referrals. Women,
Yes.
we have a challenge for a variety of cultural and psychological reasons not to automatically want to step up and do that. So in this book really gives the scenarios. It is a truth. This is how it's broken down. It's a truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mini story, real life. It happened. It either happened to me or it happened to one of my clients or
Right.
Mini story. Then it has a career visibility move. It's action. Do this now. And then there's a reflection, right? Oh, let me think about this. Yeah, let me check myself on that. So it's 50 of those. So this is a fast read, but it's actionable. Right.
I love that. I love that. I believe that, boss ladies, as bossy lady as we are, right? We need to know that we can be bold and that we can be courageous, right? And when you know what you know, and when you know what you don't know, there's so much power in that. You can show up with confidence, even if it's something that you don't know, because you can say boldly and with confidence, that's not something that I have experience with, or I don't know the answer to that question. And it builds trust. And it shows, the level of integrity that you operate with, as a business professional, as an entrepreneur. Where is this book going to be available at? Where can people and when and how? And I don't know if they mentioned the Boss Ladies Breakroom. Can they get like a signed autograph little special?
Oh, I love that. You know what? Let's make that happen. I'm sure we can make that happen. Absolutely. You're having your signed copy. That's for sure.
Right. I'm about to get mine.
For sure. So it will be before the end of the year. My publisher it didn't want to commit to the exact date, but certainly before December. So that gives a lot of cushion.
Perfect.
To that. There will be a book launch. I know I'm doing it live in New York City. Maybe I will do something virtually so we can, talk more, about that when that happens, or they can follow me and they'll also know more.
Yes.
And it will be available, everywhere. Good books are sold and stocked. Yes, there is a digital version, but there is a hard copy version, and I encourage that because it really does have like a space for you to reflect and write in. And I have a bonus section in the back, by the way. That is about for book clubs, right? So whether you're in an organization or you're in the Boss Lady Breakdown, group, and you want to action through some of the truths and the actions, and we can build that whole collective mind. Visibility doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Right.
There's brilliance everywhere. And we can tap into it with other women. So that's also an exciting, bonus add-on. And another reason really to get the book. Now I'm old school and I'm very tangible, but there is research that shows that
yes. Well, writing it down, like the action of writing it down versus typing it or, talking text, to it. Writing it down is, again, powerful. There's power in that. It's an action that you're taking. So I love that. I love that it's a workbook style book that is actually going to essentially help people, right, with their
100%.
career visibility. Yeah,
100%.
I love that.
Right.
I love that.
And fast, right? This is not a big preamble. We're not, it's here's what you need to know. Here's why you need to know it. Here's how it plays out. And what are you going to do about it?
Yeah. Well, and then the workbook aspect of it, gives the reader an opportunity to go back to it, right?
Yes.
Going
Yes.
back to where we were, or what we were thinking when we essentially wrote it, and
Right.
how we move forward, so we can look back and see the progress, or see where we maybe dropped the ball,
Right.
and where we need to pick up maybe, or add something that maybe we forgot. So that's so great. I love that. Yeah, I'm putting my order in right now. I don't know. Here's my credit
Don't
card.
worry.
Here you go. You can
If I
swipe it.
if I can make it if I
Give it to
make it
me.
work, maybe I'll come back to Nevada and see you live. Who knows?
You
No,
know,
why not? Anything's possible.
Well, let me call Karen. Let me give Karen Basher a call, because I know she has some pull over there at Wilson Nelson. Let me partner with her. Let me get back to you on that. I know we would love to see you here again in Nevada. Just, you made such an impact at the Wave event, at least to me anyway. I mean, and I know the room was moved. I mean, you were talking to attorneys
Yes.
in that room, talking about career visibility.
And that's the piece too, is I don't need to know your job. Okay. So, sometimes folks will say to me, well, do you just do learning and development, folks? Or no. Across all industries, across all titles, and yes, men and women, yes. But it doesn't matter about, is it legal? Is it, financial? Is it retail? Are you a project manager? Are you a CFO? Are you an admin? The piece is, your technical piece.
Right.
I'm trying to create and reveal your story about why you stand out in that role. There's nothing worse than coming in and saying, I'm just going to use the legal piece.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm a third year associate in M&A. Okay, great, because there's probably another 100 of you just in this firm.
Right.
How do you stand out, right? So we are not our job titles.
Yes. We are not our job titles. Yes. I love that. Say it again for people in the back.
Yes. I write about that in my book, because that's job title. That's for HR, right? There's a hierarchy of, this is how they put job bands in, and there's a reason they do that. But right.
Yeah.
That's
love it.
Right.
Wonderful. So every boss lady that joins me here in the break room brings in 5 financial literacy tips to the break room. And these are tips that boss ladies around the world can actually use to implement into their business to make them a stronger, better business, essentially. And so, as we were preparing for our interview today, you gave me a phenomenal amount of career visibility tips. And so I picked my top 5 favorites. So I want to kind of run through them with you.
I'm curious to see what you picked, because it was interesting, because I had never, when you first reached out to me and we talked about this, I had never created it sort of within that context. So it was fun. So I'll be curious to see what resonated and what you wanted to pick out. Yes.
Well, okay, let's get right into it. So career visibility tips. So these are tips that are going to accelerate your career, your voice, and your value. And these are coming directly from Janet. These are not from Miss Camay. These are directly from Janet. So I want to list them out, and then I want you to elaborate on them a little bit.
Okay.
So number 1, register the business.
Oh.
Visibility starts with legitimacy. Talk to us about that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. You don't just operate, you want to incorporate, right? Or whatever the legal structure is going to be. Whether you're building a consulting practice, or you're launching your own services, you want to formalize whatever that structure is, because that creates credibility. That creates credibility. It's really, really important. And you can't continue to elevate on that visibility if the foundation isn't solid. So you really need to, and yes, you probably likely want to talk to somebody like, Ms. Camay, right? or your accountant, right? Like there are other aspects as to what that structure should be. Now, yes, initially, you could be a sole proprietor. I started
Right.
that way, right? So initially, like, yes, you can, but you really want to think in terms of visibility, starting with legitimacy. That also means, right, you've got to separate what
Correct.
you're doing, right? So remember I said buying cocktail dresses at Bloomingdale's? Okay,
Yes.
great. That's not going on the business card, right?
Correct.
Like, even the way you speak to clients, people are listening, right? And people are
Right.
watching. Even that, even if you're early on in where you are in your business, you really need to think about legitimizing it.
Yes. Yes. And Miss Camay International can help clients establish and structure their business entities in all 50 states.
Yeah,
Just a little tag right there.
good, good.
But yes, yes, visibility starts with legitimacy. I love it. I love it. So simple, right? Okay, so kind of a little carry on
All
from
right.
registering the business, carrying insurance.
Oh,
It's
yes.
a visibility signal, not just a safety net. So talk to us about that.
Okay. This was very interesting. And I didn't have any, okay, until first quarter this year. Um, I was thinking I didn't really need it. Part of me was
Mhm.
saying, well, if I went on site, right? I'm doing a lot of one-on-one on Zooms.
Right.
Uh, if I teach a program, am I on site? Well, doesn't the company carry that? I remember I didn't ask a lot of my partner vendors, for that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, I had a huge opportunity that came, by the way, from a client, all right,
Uh-huh.
a branding room client.
Yes.
Um, and she asked me she knew what I did, what my background was, to run an offsite for her. Uh,
Okay.
and the folks, once she passed my name along into the organization, they asked me for my general liability insurance. Where's my policy? And they
Yeah.
had certain amounts. And I went, whoop. What? The surprising thing was, I asked several of my other colleagues who I know are in business, and I would say
Yes.
legit business, and many didn't have it.
Yes.
Well,
Many
I
people don't.
have it now.
Yes, yes, yes.
And
It's
I
it's
will,
it's
right?
so affordable. It's
It is.
affordable, especially for small business entrepreneurs. If you're a sole prop, LLC, it's so affordable. It's so affordable. It's so affordable. You should just absolutely not have no excuse not
Yes.
to have it.
Agreed. And it is, you're right. It does completely dovetail off of, that legitimizing piece to it. It
Yes,
makes you solid. And it's really also as you grow. Maybe when I just thought I had, this many clients, or it's this revenue, but you start seeing as you're progressing, there's a lot at stake.
yes, yes. Well, to kind of, expand on my call out at the beginning of this break room series, the young photographer that I have this, dispute with, that's something that is being requested. Your breach of contract has caused my business damages,
Yeah.
and now I'm making a claim against you and your business for the damages. And if this photographer does not have insurance, does not have business liability insurance, she potentially, through a court order, she potentially is going to be personally liable for any amount of damages that the court orders on my behalf. If I prove my case, there are things that
Yeah,
have to happen.
sure.
And that situation, that could potentially close a small business down.
Right.
One, lawsuit, one civil litigation claim can just destroy a small business owner if they don't have this affordable coverage, this affordable
Yeah.
insurance, essentially to protect you, because things happen. Myself as a notary, as a document preparer,
Right.
I'm required to carry bonds for the work that I do as a doc preparer and as a notary public, right? And a signing agent. And because mistakes happen, like it's inevitable. Mistakes can happen. And so I am covered under, the bonds that I have regarding notary work and document preparation, but there's still no liability coverage with, the bonds that you're required to carry through the state. So general liability insurance, which I have as well, is just a layer of protection. It protects my home, protects, my empire that I built with my husband, right? It protects all of those things because disputes are going to happen, mistakes are going to be made. So great. Yeah, great. That's why I wanted you to talk about that tip, because it was so powerful.
And visibility rises, right, as trust rises, right?
Yes, correct. Okay, so moving on. This is something that I noticed, and this is a topic, Janet, that many entrepreneurs that I meet in modeling and fashion and pageantry, they have a brand, right? They have a logo created. And all of a sudden they seem to believe that, they are legally, entitled to that logo or to that slogan or to that saying or to their business name, right? And 2 weeks later they spend all this time and all this money and kind of develop their brand, and then 2 weeks later here comes somebody else and the same city, same state potentially, who launches a brand that's the same exact name.
Right.
And what people don't understand is how to avoid that, how to eliminate that, and how to, again, protect their brand, right? Because there's so much value in what we're doing, right? So the last thing you want to do is create something that somebody else can take from you, legally take from you.
Right.
So your number 2 financial literacy tip, because this has to do with financial literacy.
Third, right?
Well, we're on number 2 because carrier insurance was kind of like one.
Okay.
Yeah. So trademark your brilliance.
Oh my
Talk to us about that.
Okay. Yes. Trademark your brilliance, because even case in point, we've all seen it happen. Either it's happened to us or we know of others that this happened to. The piece is, even with the book Visibility Effect that's coming out, it was important to me. I knew I had a methodology to it, right? So I had career visibility. I have a framework. I have a methodology. It is mine. Okay. Right. It's my IP. It's my intellectual property. And there are things I hope to do with that further down the road with my business, but I need to claim it. So yes, I working with how to work with an attorney to trademark the career visibility. I really wasn't interested in the visibility effect title. It was the career visibility and that framework, and how I defined it, right? So that because I want to be seen as a leading voice in that. I want to empower everyone to talk about it, but I'd like them to say, here is a definition from Janet Wise, right? Maybe a pioneer or a founder or an early adopter of career visibility.
Subject matter expert.
Right. I want to protect that. I worked with a gal. Her name actually was Cheryl Salters, just giving a shout out. But she used to talk about a term, bankable brilliance. Okay. Her term, right? And I think that also feeds in when we're talking about trademarking your brilliance in that, because ownership matters. Now, I don't need to wear a sash and say it's me, it's mine. But maybe.
I know where you can get one of those. And a crown too, and a big crown.
but I hadn't trademarked other things in the past. Okay. The branding room gets warded down, a lot. There is a lot of different people in different spaces, using that. So I was really just very aware that I needed to protect this asset for going forward. Yes, you're using it. Whether you're talking with you, Miss Camay, right? Somebody's want to say, are you using it? Is it showing up? How are you using it?
Right.
How are you claiming it? What's different about it?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, very, very important. And again, for your listeners who are business owners, really important for how you want to maybe scale your business. Now, I
Yeah.
will say that I always said in a previous life somewhere, I was a marketer. I think in terms of sound bites, right?
Yes.
The
Yes.
book, the truths are in these sound bites. You'll see, how I think and how I communicate that way. But when we're inside an organization, right? The So if I'm an employee inside an organization,
Yes.
again, let me preface this from my paralegal days. I'm not giving legal advice.
That's right.
I am sharing that it was my experience that the organization, so if I work for, Acme, blah, blah, blah company, and
Yep.
I created a program and I called it X, that IP actually belonged to the company. I
Correct.
was creating it on behalf of them.
Correct.
And I had seen myself create very interesting and very profitable
Yeah, of course. Of course.
slogans and other pieces. Yes, in the course of my work as a full-time employee, I didn't benefit from that. I mean, yes, I was doing my job, but this was
Correct.
even above and beyond. They were
Mm-hmm.
able to monetize it in a different way. But
Yeah.
okay, there was that exchange of value. That was legit how that exchange was working out. But I was
Correct.
very mindful of that going in under my own shingle,
Yes.
that this would need to be ownership was mine.
Yeah, yeah. So let me ask you this. I know you mentioned that you did work with an attorney that helped you trademark, the branding room and career visibility. And attorneys do provide those services. Trademark applications, copyright applications, those are services that MCI does offer in their book of business and their practice areas, because paralegals prepare those documents, right? Paralegals process the applications, follow them through with the U.S. Trademark Office, and ensure, that everything is compliant and works with the client to make sure that the trademark goes through. So, with that being said, and maintaining, your confidentiality essentially. How expensive was trademarking your brand? Because when I talk trademarks or copyright, to my clients potentially, who are small business owners, entrepreneurs, they instantly think that it's unaffordable. Like when I say trademark your brand, instantly think that it's out of their reach, that they can't afford it. They're not making $200,000 a year to be able to trademark their brand. So in regards to profitability, what did that cost you and how long did it take for you to trademark?
Sure. So it's really in that final phase of that. But I, again, because they're reviewing it, they're still seeing that it's in use, etc.
Right.
And the
Right.
book is the book is a really big part, of that. It wasn't an astronomical investment. And I
Mm-hmm.
think when we hear trademark and we think, Pepsi Cola, right? Or something else.
Yeah.
And I think I shared with you that I probably entered into a conversation with you, because we were talking about that Boss Ladies Breakroom a
Yes.
little later, right?
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
if I would have been in front of it, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that I would have had a different conversation with you. That all being said, I will say to you and to your listeners that as I go forward with other opportunities, I would be coming here first.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So yeah, I mean, no, for sure. For
Yes.
sure.
Yeah,
Um,
much more affordable for sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay, let's move right along. I just want to thank the audience for tuning in. I know this is, kind of a long break. If you guys need a note, for your employer, just let me know, reach out to me. I'll send you guys a work note that your lunch break took a little longer because we were talking to the phenomenal Janet Weiss, and we have to hear from her. Like, we can't skip any of this. These are golden nuggets and gems that she's dropping, and you're only getting it here in the Boss Ladies Break Room. So moving right along, your brand assets are business assets. So dive into that a little bit.
Okay. Really important when we talk in terms of visibility, right? And again, this has got branding room in it. It's got all of that. It's got you in it. It's got all of that. But the piece is headshot, bio, LinkedIn profile. These are all business assets and visibility tools Oh, I'm going to go have a conversation, and whether it's a networking, Miss Camay mentioned somebody. Well, let me go look them up on LinkedIn, right? Well, do they have a professional photo, or does it look like they were at their, niece's communion 14 years ago, right?
Yeah,
and maybe, what else was going on there.
Yeah.
But it really needs to be legit, not you cropped out your ex, okay?
Yeah. Yes.
LinkedIn
Yes.
profile.
Go get headshots taken from a professional photographer and get a contract. Make sure you have a contract agreement in writing.
Yes. I'm going to say yes, because your brand also reflects your value at all of those touch points. I recently just did headshots because of the upcoming book, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
right. So yes, there was a contract with that. And by the way, I want to let me just finish on your branded on your assets. Let me finish that. But it's like any brand, there's consistency, right? There's consistency, right? How you show up today, how you show up on LinkedIn, how you show up on your business cards, all of that should be similar. Nobody should feel like they've just been, fished, right? Or right, or now you see me, now you don't. Brands are consistent, right? I mentioned Coca-Cola shows up the same way. Logo shows up the same way.
Exactly.
Right?
On everything, keychains, bottles, shirts. Yeah.
Yes. It must be consistent. And I would imagine, having that, that conversation with you, like there's a piece to have a conversation with me on what that LinkedIn profile should be. And then how you want to sort of either monetize it or protect it is the conversation that they would have with you.
Yes. Yes.
There is something I want to highlight. I'm going to remind me at the end, because if it comes up in another one of your,
my chosen tips, because
story,
you don't know which ones
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, moving right along. Number four, and this is one. This is something that I have experienced myself, that I've dealt with myself and addressed with myself. And I see many women entrepreneurs struggle with this, and it seems to like come up in the initial question, the first question. When you ask somebody, okay, you're a subject matter expert or you provide these services. Okay, so how much?
Yeah.
And countless, just even in my own business dealings, I asked the question, and there was very rarely do I get this is the price. This is what I charge. This is my fee. Very rarely. It's usually, him and Han, well, and okay, and well, and I usually this, or I this, or, and you lose your prospect, right? You potentially lose the client because like they just they just lose confidence in you as a business professional when you struggle with naming your price. And so number 4, price with intention. Price with intention, because your fee tells a story. So that's what I was I should have said it and then explained, but that's exactly what I was explaining. You know,
Yes.
when you ask somebody what their fee is, they should be able to state it with confidence, being bold. Your client or your prospect understands the value that they're getting when you state your price, really, regardless of what the amount is.
Correct.
Right? So talk to us about that, price with intention, and like, let's focus on intention.
Yes.
Because that tells a story.
Yes, price with intention, because your fee does tell that story. And before you get to that intention, that's why we need to understand, you need to own your value. You've got to name it and claim it so you can aim it. And that's the piece, and the intention, and the intention piece. We are here to serve others. Hello, serve others. Not, hi, yes, do I want to make a living? Yes, we all do. But it's an outward focus. It's not necessarily an inward focus. Yes. I need to demonstrate, we all do, what our value and outcome will be if somebody is going to work with us. So we need to be clear on that first. But you must be able to stand by your value. Women collectively, we waffle on that. We may giggle like, there's different things. Honestly, I would say,
I know, I agree.
I'm just saying the fee for that is $1,500, not $1,500. Not, I think it's $1,500. It's around $1,500. What is it? You state it. Think about it. I want your listeners even just to observe other people. I don't know. You go into a store and they're going to tell you the price. It's not about, can I get it for less? It's okay if somebody says, how about this? How you can,
you can negotiate. Yeah,
you can negotiate. But remember, especially women, we talk. Oh, really? Because Janet charged me $1,000. Okay. And then they'll think the exact same thing, but I had to pay $1,500, right? Or $15,000. So we really have to be careful when we start saying like that negotiate piece. If it is a program and this is the program with all of the components, that shouldn't change, right? That shouldn't change. Again, consistency in that and standing that. But your price is part of your positioning and how you're going to be seen in the market. This is the biggest piece. I remember when I was very early on in entrepreneurship. I don't know if you've seen it, if your listeners have seen it, or if you're doing this, the old, well, if you do this for me, I'll do that for you, and we can barter. And no.
Yeah.
It's a value. Right. I say a hard, fast no. I'm sure in some context that may work. Okay. But 99% of the time, no, it has a value.
Right.
Respect yourself, respect your value, respect your friend or your colleague or whoever else you're engaged with, their value. Right. So there needs to be that understanding and that exchange. And I had a text very early this morning, and I'm on, when I say I'm on the West Coast, I live in New York. So you see me, I'm a little in Southern Cal, mode here, right?
In God's country with all that sunshine and ocean and beach. Yeah, I get it, Janet. I get it.
But I had a text from a very good friend this morning who was asking about her pricing. She has a definite, I'm not in her pocket, but I would say a definite high 6-figure business. Maybe 7. As I said, I don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely high 6. And was asking about pricing, right? So I to share that with you because we all at every level Remember, and don't compare your beginning or your story to somebody
Right.
else's
Right.
end, or that everybody's on a different journey, but
Correct.
everything is relative. So your price point may be 1,000, hers may be 100,000.
Right.
Doesn't matter. Everybody is still trying to get that level set.
Mm-hmm.
And the same way, that's when we talk about entrepreneurial, is if I was coaching somebody, and we're talking about, well, I've got salary negotiation.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I was gonna, kind of say that this whole money conversation
Yes, it's
transitions to the employee, right? Like, how much do you want to?
exactly.
Yeah, how much do you want to get paid? I
Right.
mean, like,
You must be able to well, look, whether we're pricing something we're
services.
offering services, or we're applying for a job, in some states they will tell you what, at least what the range is. Some of
Yeah.
it was ridiculous because it can't go from 10,000 to 420,000. I mean, that's
Right.
ridiculous. But they'll usually give you a fair market range,
Yes. Yes.
and
Yes.
you need to go into that with, what is your value?
Mm-hmm.
What is your intention? Now, of course, everyone can say, yes, I want the highest, but is it an organization where you're going to get certain recognition,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
you can ride on the coattails of their brand recognition? That has
There's value there. Value.
value, right?
There's
That has
value. Yeah.
value. Could it be that it's an all remote job? It's got a different value, right? So
Yes.
but the piece is, when you say what you want your salary to be, yes, it's that you tell me first. You know who goes first.
Dance. Right. Right.
At the end of the day, you have to say it. And whether you're saying, I want $100,000 a year, or I want, $100,000 for this project,
Mm-hmm.
you say it
Yeah.
and let it land.
Yes. Well, and I would just like to share that in my negotiation, and I feel that I'm extremely bold and courageous in all negotiations that I am
No
involved in,
doubt.
whether it's money, services, with my husband. I'm really getting good with that one. I'm really getting good with that one. But I have named my price, and I've gotten it.
Yes.
No negotiation. No, they haven't batted an eye. It's like, okay, okay, Miss Camay, how much do you want, or how much is it going to cost, or what is your fee? And I name it, and they're like, okay, here you go. Like, there's no conversation about it at all.
Once it starts to become a commodity, then folks will shop on price.
Yeah.
If there's a value add, I told you I still do some consulting work, right?
Yes. Yes.
So it's a learning that monthly project, and what I submit, it is not hourly. It is not, I did this many hours and this is my hourly rate. Now, did that inform how, market value? There's other things. I didn't pull a number out of the hat.
Right.
But it's based on value. Here's the value. Because you're hiring me for this, but the point is, if I'm doing that, you're getting all of me. You're getting all of me. I can't leave half of myself at the door. If I see there's another need, I'm going to deliver on that.
Yeah.
If it's, again, within a scope, there's, I don't want to say that.
Yeah.
There is, but I price on its value. So it always does come back. It does come back to that value, and really being able to stand in your truth with that.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
Going back
through.
Right. And it goes back to your visibility.
Yes.
It goes back to your visibility. Okay. So the top 5, number 5 tip that Janet Weiss has provided to the Boss Ladies Breakroom, only here in the Breakroom. Only here in the Breakroom.
Yes. I don't have this. It's not in my book. I didn't think of it.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to copyright this. I own this, Janet.
I think, you know what? We're going to do something.
Yes. Okay, so number 5, and this will make total sense to you.
Okay.
Every document, this is coming from Janet, every document communicates your presence.
Oh my gosh.
Talk to us about that.
It signals how you are going to do your work. It signals integrity. And I'm so glad I didn't tell that other story, because it sits right here under this truth. I will tell you that, without going into specifics, but I will tell you that when Miss Camay engaged me, and by the way, she shared with you, I shared with you, we can go way back several years. We've worked with each other in different aspects, right?
Yeah.
And right, so there's a relationship here. Not that I'm speaking to you every day, but I see you online, right?
Right.
There's a relationship to nurture here.
Yes.
When you asked me about this, we had the conversation. Wow. Wow. You blew me away with your integrity and your professionalism straight up on this point. Okay. You sent me it wasn't a con, well,
Guest
what was
release.
it, a contract,
Guest
right?
release. A
Okay.
guest release.
A guest release.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to appear. This is the date. This is this. And by the way, if you flake on me,
Yeah.
there's a cost.
Right. Right.
Now, I would never, okay?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
maybe
Of
there's
course.
some kind of crazy extenuating circumstance, but
Yeah.
that demonstrated there
Mm.
is not a better way. That demonstrated, okay, where you put the value on what you're delivering here, okay?
Mm.
And it ensures that your guests step up. I was so impressed that I told two other people who I
Right.
know have podcasts, and I
Yes.
said, "You want to speak?" Because here's what you did. And they said, "Really? I never thought of that. I've done 200
Mm.
podcasts." Mhm.
Oh. Ooh.
Yes. Yes.
They need
Yes.
Miss
Now, I don't
Play International. They need me. They need me.
exactly.
Yeah.
That is so, even that, and even that, again, it's visibility, it's your presence, it's your brand, and what
Right.
is that communicating? It's the real deal. It's not
Correct.
bullshit.
Right. Right.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. This is
Right?
YouTube. We can say this. We can say
Okay.
this.
Right?
You know, I feel that, you know, at this stage in my life, so many, you know, aspects are based on tried and true experiences that I've already survived. I've already lived through, right?
Yes.
And so when you share with me, and thank you so much for the referrals, by the way. Thank you so much
Yes.
for connecting me with, you know, the other professionals that you know, because here's the deal. So before I had a guest release for my platform, I had interviewed a young lady on the Miss Kamei show. So I was on the air live in AM talk radio in Seattle, Washington, in a radio studio, live on the air, interviewing guests every week. And I had a guest that I interviewed. I did not have a guest release implemented to my platform. I created this marketing for her interview, this beautiful spread of her in the Miss Kamei Show mini magazine I had at the time. We did her interview. Her interview was live on the radio. And I was pushing out, of course, you know, the marketing and advertising of, you know, this woman that I was interviewing. And somebody that took her pictures, who did not give her a photo release for the images that that she took. Those were the images that she sent to me to use for her interview.
Ah,
And I did not have any type of release in place. So when she, you know, got involved in this, you know, kind of dispute with these images, she reached out to me and told me that I needed to take her content down because there was this dispute. So I had no document, I had no legal standing, nothing that protected, you know, my show. And there's of course money involved. You know, there's airtime, there's, you know, the marketing that was created. There was a lot of money that goes into preparing for guest interviews, especially then when I was in the studio.
Yes.
And so that's all I needed was one time, one experience that went bad, that taught me the lesson. And so from then on, in anything that I have done with any guest on my podcast, any virtual assistant I work with, anybody that works with Miss Camay and Miss Camay International, they sign a non-compete, non-disclosure agreement right away, immediately. All of my guests on the Boss Ladies Breakroom, they all are required to sign a guest release. I legally, and here's the thing, for all of you podcasters out there, you legally cannot use somebody else's name, picture, video, voice, likeness without their consent. And so if you're building this platform for yourself, if you're, podcast, if you're interviewing people, big businesses, big companies, big organizations, you sign a release. You sign a release when you go sit down at a radio station, at a television station, because it's their content, but they can't use it without your permission. And so I can't post a video. I can't post my podcast interview until my guest release is signed. Yeah. And so it's so important. And I wanted to close out our interview, of course, with every document communicating your presence, because when you, as you have so eloquently explained and described your experience in exchange with me, you knew you were dealing with a business professional when I sent you
100%,
that release.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. That really, and again, as I said, I've watched you, evolve, right?
Yes,
in
yes.
different ways over the years. So it's not like, oh, this is, some great shock, but this, what's right. But but this podcast, it really, that moment, okay, when you said that and when I got the email, I was like, again, it's the legitimizing. There's value. It's the boss lady. It's a boss move. And you use that. And sometimes I think when, your listeners, when thinking about a boss, well, am I a boss? Or if I'm just the admin, we are the CEO of You Inc. Okay. So that makes you the boss. You need to be thinking and acting like a boss. And let me tell you, the way you pour into your podcast listeners, tremendous value.
Thank you. Well, I'm here to educate, inspire, and empower my audience. And I love giving my clients marketing. I love giving them, a video interview that is all about them, all about their brand, all about their business, and, how they're making a difference in their community. I love it. I live for this stuff. I could do this all day long. I could do this. Wow. So thank you so much, Janet, for all of those gems and those nuggets. In closing, tell people how they can connect with you. If they've, watched our interview together and they know they need some career visibility and they need help with these career visibility tips that you have provided, how can they connect with you? How can they contact you?
Well, certainly don't wait for the book, right? So I know that this is also going to be shown on LinkedIn. So that is the easiest, quickest way, is on LinkedIn. You follow me, Janet Wise, follow me. I have a newsletter here. That is probably the best way. I do have a website, which is Wise, my last name, wiseadvantages.com. I'm on Facebook, but that's really, you'll see me in this setting, right? You'll see me in this setting. So that's the best way. And if you have any questions, of course, you can go to the boss lady herself. And it has been an honor. I'm so pleased and honored to have been a guest on this podcast today. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you. I can't do this by myself. My audience, they hear from me all the time. So I can't do this without you. I knew when I started this platform, I knew I wanted to bring you into the break room. There were a couple of my guests last month, Monica Coburn. There were the two of you, the pillar of women in the community leading us as entrepreneurs. I knew you were going to bring value to the platform. I knew you were going to have amazing financial literacy tips that all entrepreneurs could use. And so it is truly my pleasure. I am honored that you accepted my invitation and that you spent time with me today here. We've gone quite over a break, so I hope nobody gets in trouble at work for, hanging out with us in the Boss Ladies Breakroom today. But there's been value here.
Yes.
There's been action items listed here that every entrepreneur can take away from this interview with them to help them with their career visibility tips. So thank you so much, Janet. I appreciate you so much. When we're going to take a break. When I come back, I'm going to tell you guys 5 reasons why you should work with this powerhouse paralegal right here. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back. Bye-bye, Janet. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Did you know that 46% of mobile shoppers are likely to buy a product or service from a verbal ad when it's relevant to the content that they're viewing? It's responsible for capturing attention, creating interest, and persuading your target audience.
It's about every woman having their unique experience. When you're on that vibroacoustic sound equipment, women go into their own world.
Let the Boss Ladies Breakroom put your company in the spotlight. Visit my website at misscamayinternational.com, click the contact tab, and fill out the form listing sponsor ad spot in the subject line. And let us create a sponsor ad for you, your company, or service or product that you sell, which will be featured in our series. Partner with us for a greater reach to those who need you.
Welcome back to the break room, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that each and every one of you found so much value hearing from Janet Weiss. She is just a phenomenal support to your career, whether that's career as a professional or career as an entrepreneur. She can absolutely make a difference for you. Again, connect with her on LinkedIn, Janet Weiss. She has a phenomenal newsletter where she shares several tips that we've discussed here in the break room today. So please be sure to just subscribe to her newsletter where you can continue to get value from Janet. In closing, you guys, I just want to remind you of the services that I provide and give you my top 5 reasons of why you should work with me. Number 1, I'm a powerhouse paralegal. The greatest reason, right? I prepare business, legal, and estate planning documents in all 50 states. My fees tell a story. Going back to one of the career tips that Janet provided, my fees tell a story. I'm the people's advocate, and I'm passionate about educating, inspiring, and empowering my clients and giving them, a value for what they need. My prices are much less than any attorney's hourly rate. So one of the most significant items of value in working with me or any other powerhouse paralegal. Again, my consulting sessions are focused on your situation, not my opinion. My professional legal career offers real-world experience. So when you consult with me, when you need documents prepared, I'm going to share my professional legal experience knowledge with you about your topic, if it's a topic that I'm familiar with. And I'm going to give you real-life experiences that potentially relate to your particular situation. And then finally, if any of my clients that consult with me, if they ever need legal advice, if they ever, get to a point in consulting with me in regards to their personal situation or document preparation, estate planning, right? I have built relationships with attorneys around the country in my 20 plus years of being a legal professional and working in private practice. And there has yet to be a client of mine that needs legal advice or, needs an attorney to represent them in a matter that I wasn't able to directly refer my client to, directly connect my client to an attorney that potentially can help them, that eliminates all of the red tape. So that is something that my clients are afforded, the value, right? The value of working with me. If you ever get to a point that you do need legal advice, I can absolutely help direct you to an attorney that can represent you and address your matter and give you legal advice. If you guys want to schedule a consultation with me, let's chat. Let's discuss your needs. If it's something that I can't help you with, I could potentially refer you on to somebody that can. Go to my website, misscamayinternational.com, click the book online link, and schedule a consultation with me. Remember, you guys, I'm here to educate, inspire, and empower you to take action, building generational wealth and protecting your assets with trust documents. Join me next month, the first Wednesday of the month at 2 p.m. right here on YouTube for the next Boss Ladies Break Room. We're going to have a phenomenal guest next month. You don't want to miss it. Have a great day, you guys. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining me in the Boss Ladies Break Room for the Financial Literacy Series. Remember, subscribe to my YouTube channel at Miss Camay International and join me the first Wednesday of every month at 2 p.m. right here in the break room.